All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm David Greenberg, and I want to welcome you here to a brand new series. I'm calling this From Purpose to Profit. This is a new short form podcast. And what we're going to be doing is every time we have this podcast, we're going to feature an expert, a thought leader, a coach, someone who is doing really great work and who is doing great work because what they're doing is aligned with their deeper purpose. And that's really the goal of this podcast, is to help to bring to light some of the transformational work that coaches and experts are doing when they align more closely with the real reason why they're here. So having said that, it's a pleasure to have Eldin Hasa on here for this very first episode. Eldin, welcome.
Thank you so much, David. It's been an absolute pleasure to be connected with you on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all other platforms. And I know we have had some communication on Facebook in particular, and I've been following your posts and your amazing videos. And myself being a podcast host, I was looking forward to be guest on more podcasts such as yourself. So I'm very honored to be invited to be a guest on your show. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, what caught my attention in your work, I guess I'm connecting with people all the time on social media, but what caught my attention is I happened to watch a recent video that you made where you talked more about your story. And I thought that was really, courageous and insightful for you to share that. And that's one of the reasons why I was very interested to speak with you. And I know you wear a lot of different hats. You're a neuroscientist. Like you said, you're also a podcaster or a coach. You run these live retreats that I'm sure we're going to hear about. So just because there's obviously going to be a lot of people watching who are not familiar with you, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so yes, I do wear many hats. I also have a real estate investment and development business here in London, UK. And yeah, so my background is I studied psychology, then I went to study neuroscience and epigenetics, quantum physics, and many other kind of mind sciences, or sciences which bring people to understand there are so many possibilities, that ultimately we are superhuman, if you want to label it like that. But during the university days, most of my friends at my university, they were doing finance and business courses. So they said, Eldin, there is no money in psychology. Why don't you come and work with us? So even though I graduated, I went and worked in finance and real estate for about 10 years after the university. But at the same time, I continued my research, my studies, and I did some work, kind of like a side hustle, through my finance and real estate. Why people would ask me, oh, can you help my daughter? Can you help my son? Can you help me? And so I kind of always stayed in that industry on and off. But then about 18 years ago, I transitioned kind of full time into doing what I do. I still have my real estate business, but it's more my business rather than consultancy where I originally started, because I discovered that's my passion. That's my purpose. This is why I am here. And ultimately, I always say to people, I just work here. Because, when I used to travel to India and teach in India, they used to call me Guru Eldin G. And I say to all of them, I said, I'm not your guru. Because, in India, everybody wants to know, who is your guru? I said, I have three: me, myself, and I. And ultimately, what I teach is that you have all the power. You are your own master, your own teacher, your own guru. If you have accessible to various tools, there is no like template, as they say in UK, that each individual should follow. There's no like cookie cutter. All you have to do is information is readily available. And if you make choices daily to go from where you are to where you want to be, and say, okay, what is the blueprint that I can follow? What is the action steps that I can break it down, that I can follow? And you begin the process, whether it's process of healing the past trauma, rewiring the brain for success in every area of your life, because obviously you got to reprogram your subconscious mind, because that's your biggest obstacle to get to where you want to get. And ultimately, I teach those tools. Obviously, I teach concepts and theories in understanding how the brain works, the human behavior. That's my area of expertise. But ultimately, I give people the power back in their own life, in their own hands. So if they choose to apply those tools, they will transform their lives exponentially, 180 degrees, even more. If you keep doing it, the sky is not the limit. Only your mindset and your beliefs are the limit.
Amazing. Amazing. I took a few notes while you were sharing that, Eldin, because I think a few things really jumped out at me and that I wanted to mention. So the first is, I love how you kind of finished off there by talking about how your work is to help empower people. And I think this is something that we have in common, or I would say not empower, but remind people of the power that they already have. So in a way, it's like re-empowering them, right? I think we need to be clear that you, meaning you who's watching this, we already have the power. It's just we forget, or we're taught to forget, or we're taught, nonsense that we don't actually have the power that we do. So I think this is great. This is one of the reasons why I enjoy these conversations so much, because we are approaching this from different angles, but ultimately, most of us who are doing this deeper work or helping people in this deeper way, it's really all for the same purposes, to help you remember who you really are and to help you gain, tap back into that infinite value that you have as a human being, and that power, amazing power potential that once you understand it, once you're able to tap into it, amazing things start to happen. So that really resonates a lot with me. You mentioned epigenetics. I'm curious, you must be influenced by either Dr. Bruce Lipton and or Dr. Joe Dispenza as part of your work.
So the godfather of epigenetics is Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Sure.
And the one of his students is, myself included, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. So you see, epigenetics, what's interesting, if people don't know the story, just a short summary, Dr. Bruce Lipton used to be a lecturer as a biologist, teaching like the medical science as what is in the textbook, like all the diseases are hereditary, they pass down through genes, through generations, and he did that for 40 years. And then by discovering in the lab that that's absolutely not true, that the genes are actually controlled by the environment, but not environment out there, but environment in here. In particular, our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors control our genes. And when he then tested that theory, tested it to death in the lab, he discovered some amazing things. He even discovered that advanced meditators, they took blood from advanced meditators. He put them in a petri dish, and he took blood from the patients who had cancer. Now, the blood, the plasma from the advanced meditators was healing the cancer cells in the petri dish. This is how powerful things are, as you mentioned, the power within us, and it's just incredible. So I continued a lot of studies in epigenetics, and I still do. And it's one of the tools that I use to describe. And then I teach, again, understanding concepts and theories. Information is readily available everywhere. But if you say to yourself, so what do I do? Okay, I can tell you, but like the theory, but then you will have a question. So how can I do it? What can I do with this information? How will this, these are very powerful questions for your listeners and viewers. They should take a note. Listening to this podcast, they should say, how can this benefit my life? When will I use it? Why must I use it? And then when they ask those open-ended questions to activate their frontal lobe, their amygdala, then the brain goes into overdrive, tries to figure out the answers to those questions. But if you just watch this for entertainment and say, oh, that was great, two guys talking on this podcast, some valuable information, but, ask them, a few days later, what we said in this podcast, they will not be able to remember. And the reason being is that in the brain, the new neural pathways being created by watching this podcast, they prune apart and disappear within hours, within days. If, as an adult, you have not repeated this information, repeated by applying it, by revisiting this podcast, by sharing, by writing, by teaching others what you learned in this podcast. This is how you solidify and create new neurosynaptic connections in your brain, and that becomes a permanent memory. And then it's set, and then you can use it over and over again. But if you just listen once, you will forget it.
Amazing. And I can, people who have been following my work at all will know that I've already shared publicly how I was able to use epigenetics. I didn't really refer to it that way, but I basically made it my mission to heal my body without using medication or without using like external factors. And if I've shared this through various videos, so I can serve as a testament that this is real. This is real science. Again, we all relate to this in different ways, but I knew that it was possible to heal from within. I had read some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books as well, which encouraged me on that path. So it's just, yeah, I mean, if you want to hear if people who are listening to this are kind of surprised that we have this incredible ability to heal ourselves, here's one more voice in the mix. So I just wanted to add that, and probably there are a lot of voices. A question here, though, for you: how did you know that you had found your true calling? Like, what was it that indicated to you, like, this is what I'm really meant? This is why I'm here.
Okay, so I had love and passion to begin with, and like with any business, you are planting seeds before you are seeing the fruits of the labor. And the fruits, perhaps at the beginning, did not come in a form of financial reward, but what fruits I was receiving was the transformation, that the testimonies from the people I was helping, the clients. Like I remember about 20 years ago, one of my real estate investment clients at that time, he phones me. He said, my daughter, she's 16. She's in a psychiatric hospital. She tried to take her own life 3 times in the last couple of months. And basically she's been there for 3 weeks now. And she's on a good behavior. So they're letting her out now to come on the weekend. We pick her up on Saturday, and then we have to drive her back to the hospital on a Sunday early evening. So day and a half. Would you like, please, to come to my house for lunch and see if you can have a chat with her? Maybe you can help her. So I did that. Long story short, after the kind of early dinner, I said, is there a room we can go to have a discussion? I had already started to work on her as I sat at the table, building the rapport and kind of healing her and, doing all the stuff that I know how to do. She said, yes, please, let's go. So we went to the room. I did something for 45 minutes. Today, that lady, she is almost 30, married, happily married with a lovely guy, 2 kids. She just had a second baby, and she is an advocate for mental health. After I did my work for 45 minutes, she got discharged from the hospital 3 weeks later, stopped medication, and never needed any psychiatric help ever again. And so I didn't receive money for that, but what I received was the true understanding that the knowledge and the power I have within me, that I can literally save a life. And then I continue to work with a lot of young adults and children. And then, of course, with, adults in their 20s and 30s with the similar sort of issues, mental health issues, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, addiction, and again, a lot of philanthropy work. And then from there, obviously, as a kind of universal knowledge that there is karma, right? So all of a sudden, yep, clients were coming from left, right, and center trying to book me to have paid work. And I was like, wow, this is great. I love what I do. Now I'm getting paid. And so I continued to work in this industry. And then I opened a company in the United States as well. Head office is in Phoenix, Arizona with my partner. We do a lot of corporate training, a lot of corporate work with American clients, solopreneurs, as well as companies, but they're mainly like C-suite level or company owners in kind of our academy. We have an online academy. And myself in the UK, I do neuroscience coaching workshops and retreats, as well as corporate training. So yeah, I get paid very well, and I have to turn people away because my kind of one-to-one coaching is full. I only have room for group coaching and for kind of like retreats and workshops. But my one-to-one roster is full because also I have a family, and I'd like to dedicate some of that time to my children, my family, and other activities that I enjoy to practice, to do, rather than just like working 24/7, kind of trading time for money, if you will.
100%. There you go. Purpose, profit follows purpose. It's right there in the story. It's amazing. And there was something profound that you said a little earlier on that I just want to go back to. You said, me, myself, and I, who are my three top gurus? And you pointed to a very deeply profound occult concept, or concept that people who follow me know that I'm a student of an initiate into the occult, and I talk a lot about occult principles. And one of the most important principles in the occult knowledge is know thyself. One of the top things that we try to hammer into people is, if you want to look for solutions, if you want to understand what you're struggling with, if you want to figure out what your purpose is, all the answers lie within you. It's just that sometimes we need a little bit of help and guidance to look back within, right? So I'm just curious, how did you come to relate to such a profound concept in your own life?
So I during my university days, I lived in India as well. I traveled to India, to Nepal, to Tibet, South America, Australia, on the quest to find the best gurus, best teachers from these ancient traditional philosophies. And I wanted to understand, like, what is the correlation between the modern science and all those ancient traditional teachings? And what the conclusion was is that there's only one truth. And all of those kind of traditional teachings, they point out to the most important question that the soul should have in this meat suit, in this physical body, which is, who am I? And so from that teaching, I kind of began to construct my life, and I still ask the same question every single day. Every single morning in my meditation, I ask, who am I? What is my purpose? How can I serve? And when I ask these three questions, I'm not looking for an answer, but it's just to reaffirm, to get grounded into, rather than who is he, who is she, who are they, what's going on outside. I know the answers are within me. And as I'm cultivating that deeper connection to the I, the witness, the observer, that is observing behind the eyeballs, that is right here, listening to me saying what I'm saying. I am not saying it. Do you understand? And it's not easy for a lot of people to contemplate, because they identify with labels, but even you studied epigenetics and other things. In order for, if we look at the science like quantum physics, it says, in order for you to change anything, you have to dissociate with your body, with your identity, with your profession, with your name, with everything. No time, no space. And going back to quantum physics, the most important quote for any human to contemplate and to understand, it's from Einstein. The field, the quantum field from quantum physics, it's the sole governing agency of the particle, meaning the matter. So matter is the physical body, is everything in your three-dimensional reality. But the field is the sole governing agency. So you change the field, you change matter. And how do you interact with the field? through your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And this is, by the way, measurable.
Yep.
This is not some woo-woo kind of
The three expressions
pseudoscience.
of consciousness: thought, emotion, and action.
Consciousness, but even what you can measure is the electromagnetical charge from the thoughts and feelings. And when you, and this is, when people say vibration, frequency, this is all measured, by the way. And what they measure is that electromagnetical, energetical frequency. When we are in the state of worry, resentment, guilt, shame, insecurity, feeling sorry for yourself, you are in a completely, that field has been reduced to a very, very short wave.
Sure.
So there is no signal between you, your energy, and the field. You're not being able to connect to the field. Thus, you're not able to govern and change the field, so you change your life. Literally, that's how you change your life. You don't change your life by trying to work harder in the 3D world. Oh, let me work harder, longer hours. Let me change the system, maybe the system, the method. Maybe I didn't make enough phone calls. Let me make an extra 100 phone calls. And you push and you cheat and you steal and you do this. And then you have a burnout because you have not changed anything on the inside. And as a result, nothing on the outside has changed. So do yourself a favor, viewers, listeners. You have to focus on your thoughts, behaviors, your emotions, and your imagination. And the fifth one is your inner conversation. Because if you do not pay attention to your inner conversation, it becomes your external three-dimensional reality, and you're not even aware of it.
Yep. And how I express this in my work is we live in a mental universe, and the mental plane is the causal plane. So when you talk about working harder or trying to fix outside circumstances, that's like trying to rearrange the furniture on the deck of the Titanic in order to stop it from sinking. What we really need to do is turn the ship around. We need to move. We need to go to the captain's chair and literally take action early to steer the ship away from danger. So again, that's just another way. These are just different ways of saying the same thing. But when you operate within the mental plane, within the causal plane, you go back to the causal factors of why you're experiencing certain circumstances, then you start to make changes there. That's where you're going to be able to make real changes to the world of effects, which is the manifested reality. So Eldin, we're going to have to wrap this up now because I promised that my viewers that we were going to keep this to be a short format. Any particular invitation for people who have gotten energized by or intrigued by what you've shared today? Like, where would you invite people to go next just to find out more about what you're doing?
So everywhere on social media is at Eldin Hasa. And for my website, more information, eldinhasa.co.uk or eldinhasa.com. And you can find my book on Amazon as well, which is the one behind us. Was published in 2019. It's basically focusing on predominantly on emotional fitness. Can we thrive in life? Can we be happy in relationships? It's available worldwide in all the good bookstores as well as on Amazon. Yeah. And I'm hosting a retreat in London on 3rd, 4th, and 5th of November. It's a 3-day workshop, wellness transformational retreat. A lot of teachings on biohacking, longevity, age reversal, as well as all the other things we just discussed. But I'm also traveling around the world, Bali, Thailand, Goa, Egypt, Dubai. So next year, many kind of international workshops and retreats. So I'm looking forward to being very busy. I actually got a workshop in Glasgow, Scotland, 1st of October. So next Sunday. So
Amazing.
Looking forward to it.
Amazing, Eldin. It's been such a pleasure. And of course, I'll tag you, and wherever people are watching this, there'll be a tag to either your account on that platform or your website. So I'll make it as easy as possible for people to find you. But look at that. There's so much to learn. And I wanted to thank you so much for being my first guest on this new series. So you have the privilege of being the first guest, hopefully the first of many, because this is a great start. You've set the pace for this short form podcast moving forward. So Eldin, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, David. My absolute pleasure to have been with you on this podcast, being the first one in this short form series as well. And yeah, I'd like to extend the invitation and have you as a guest on my podcast in the future as well, and perhaps some Facebook Lives, and we can collaborate on a few other projects. So thank you so much once more, and it was an absolute pleasure to be with you.
Definitely. We're definitely going to do that. So thank you everyone for joining me. This has been From Purpose to Profit. Stay tuned. You're going to see more episodes coming up. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Leave some love on this video wherever you're watching it, some comments, some likes, subscribe, follow, for myself and for Eldin. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care.